I mean, Generation Hive, stand up. Where are you at? Generation Hive, stand up. If you watch Generation, please let me know. I feel like I'm one of the only people that watched that show, and I loved it so much, and the fact that it got canceled haunts me to this day. Hello, my name is Lani, and this is Lani's Lens, where I talk about my favorites in film, TV, pop culture, or anything that's on my mind, really. And today I will be sharing with you my film diary for the month of May, just giving my honest thoughts and feelings about these films, along with some ratings. If you agree, if you disagree, please let me know down in the comments. I'd love to hear why or why not. And with that being said, let's get right into it. The first film I watched this month was Challengers by Luca Guadagnino. If there's anything you need to know about me, it's that there are 3 things that I love in this life: homoeroticism, hot people, and house music. And this film delivered on all 3. In all seriousness, this has solidified Luca Guadagnino as my favorite director. This man just understands human yearning, desire, and tension to such a degree that astounds me every time I see one of his films. He's a master at his craft, and I truly can't wait to see what he does next. As far as the performances go, I'm still not 100% sold on Zendaya as a compelling actress, but she definitely holds her own in this role as Toshi Duncan, and gives some of the best facial expressions I've ever seen her do in a performance, and I was thoroughly entertained. And although Mike Weiss has definitely solidified his spot as the nation's white boy of the month and mine, it's not even close. Josh O'Connor steals every single scene that he's in. I mean, the charisma on this man is insane, and it really makes me happy to see him as a leading man of some sort in the future. I know he's been killing it in The Crown and won an Emmy for that performance, but I haven't seen him in a film before, and this was a really great introduction. Then that score, I mean, it's incredible. As soon as the bass kicked in the theater, I was besides myself. I've been a fan of Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross ever since I saw Bones and All for the first time last year. That was the first time I had a score resonate with me in the theater and have me compelled to listen to it outside of the theater, and this was no different. This was almost a complete 180, but just as impactful and just as skillful, and really just shows their talent as composers. The next film I watched this month was The Idea of You. When this was announced, I was very excited because I knew it was going to be a goofy mess. And it definitely was, but I actually found myself enjoying this. I have never really ventured into the Wattpad YA adaptation movies, and can you blame me? I mean, they're not really something that are for me, if I'm being completely honest, but this was a fun, campy, steamy mess, and Anne Hathaway's in it, so I had to partake. Since I've become more of a film buff and cinephile, I found myself taking films so seriously and not just having fun with it. Films like these are really refreshing because they're not trying to reinvent the wheel. They aren't saying anything profound or elevating the genre, but they're entertaining, and I think that's enough. And I'm seeing that in Nicholas Galitzin's career. I mean, this man went from Purple Hearts to the Cinderella movie with Camila Cabello, to Bottoms, to Anne Hathaway's love interest in a YA Wattpad-esque movie. I'm really very curious to see where this man's career goes, and I'm honestly a fan. That man is showing us that he's just here to entertain, and he's honestly doing a damn good job of it. Anyways, that's all I have to say. The Idea of You pleasantly surprised me. 3.5 stars out of 5. Then we have Shrek. What am I supposed to say? It's Shrek. It's classic. It's nostalgia. It's everything. The soundtrack is incredible. Eddie Murphy is a goddamn national treasure. And if I'm being honest, I really like Michael Myers' humor. It's a guilty pleasure. But yeah, Shrek. 5 out of 5 stars. Next film I watched was Planet of the Kingdom of the Apes. It might be Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. I don't know. I really enjoyed this movie, and nobody was more shocked than me. It's 2.5 hours of CGI apes riding horseback, and it was one of my favorite movies so far this year. This was my dad's pick, and let's just say we have vastly different tastes in movies. The last movie he took me to see was the Aquaman sequel, so I had my doubts going in, but I really enjoyed this. The detail in the apes' faces and expressions was impeccable. Not perfect, but definitely kept me engaged and really moved by it. The earnest approach it took to the filmmaking, the characters, and the storylines really worked for me. With that being said, my only other critique would definitely be the humans. Every time they were on the screen, I felt myself checking out, and I'm not sure if that was the performances or if it was the direction, but it left a little bit to be desired. But overall, this is really fun, and it might be one of my favorites of the year so far. Next film I saw was I Saw the TV Glow. Despite this being one of my most anticipated movies for the year, I was not impressed. I really did not have fun with this movie. I was really looking forward to seeing Justice Smith in another role that explores queerness. I mean, Generation Hive, stand up. Where are you at? Generation Hive, stand up. If you watch Generation, please let me know. I feel like I'm one of the only people that watched that show, and I loved it so much, and the fact that it got canceled haunts me to this day. Anyway, onto this. I would rather talk about Generation than talk about this, but this film was just not good. I did not like it at all, and I understand the themes, and a lot of the filmmaking was beautiful, and the visuals were great. Soundtrack was also great, but it just really missed the mark for me. The first 15 minutes were great, and then it completely fell flat. I honestly feel the same way I felt about Past Lives when I watched this. There's a lot for people to project onto with this film, since it's so open-ended and vague, and nothing's really answered. But that's not what I enjoy. Not to say I need everything to be spelled out for me, but this just left so much to be desired and didn't really say anything. Some of the visuals were very disturbing, and the feeling, I guess, was there, but it felt a little disjointed and never really came together, in my opinion. After some time, 'cause I saw this a couple weeks ago, I have softened on it a little bit. My Letterboxd review might say otherwise, but overall, this just wasn't a film for me. I Saw the TV Glow, 2 out of 5 stars. The next film I saw was The Fall Guy. This was silly and action-packed. I think Ryan Gosling might have invented charisma. I don't really know. I was entertained. It was a little long, but it was a good movie. I thought Emily Blunt and her little jumpsuits were really adorable. My only critique is that there wasn't nearly enough Winston Duke or Emily Shue. This is another tangent, but like, Stephanie Shue is so talented, and it kills me how underutilized she's been ever since Everything Everywhere All at Once has come out. Like, Joyride was great, but I need her in more things. I need her in everything. And I need her to have a prominent role, please, because you're a waste of talent, a waste of presence and charisma and talent and nerve. Charisma, uniqueness, nerve, and talent. A waste of that. The Fall Guy, 3 out of 5 stars. The next film I watched was Sex, Lies, and Videotape, which I gave 4.5 stars out of 5. On paper, I feel like this is a film I typically wouldn't enjoy. The characters are paper thin, and it feels like we're just jumping into their lives. We don't get a ton of exposition. We don't really get to know these people except for the things that are happening in this current moment. But that worked for me, and I think it worked for the story as well. I've only seen Peter Gallagher in a couple films here and there. I know him as Eyebrows from Burlesque, which is one of my favorite movies ever, but everybody else was pretty new for me. James Spader and Andie MacDowell really stood out. Like, their performances had me gagged. The progression of their relationship, the chemistry they had, it was really cute, even though this movie was pretty unsettling in a lot of ways. I mean, the scene where they're talking about his impotence had so much tension and felt oddly romantic and vulnerable. But yeah, I think he found somebody to match his freak, and I think that is wonderful. With that being said, this isn't just a happy-go-lucky romance, not at all. It's a suspenseful drama, and the first 15 minutes were actually deeply unsettling. Like, every time James Spader popped up on the screen, the way he talked, the way he didn't blink, the way he interacted with everything around him, the things he said were just like really off-putting, and I had to like walk away for a couple minutes and then come back because I was just like really confused. I was like, what is this movie? But I really liked it, and the performance really worked for me in the end. And Andie MacDowell's performance really stuck with me as just this tragic woman who's been isolated by the people who are closest to her, and it's a very subtle performance, but it's also very real. I just appreciated it so much. It was very sweet, and I loved it. Yeah, this is definitely one I don't want to go into too much detail about, and you should really watch it for yourself if you're interested. But with that being said, I do want to point out some things that I just found were super funny. The main husband character, played by Peter Gallagher, his name is John Mulaney, and they kept saying John Mulaney, and I was like, what? It's spelled differently, but they keep saying John Mulaney, and it just sent me because Peter Gallagher kind of looks like John Mulaney now. Like, let me know if I'm wrong, but Peter Gallagher looks like John Mulaney now. Like, if John Mulaney was in his yuppie 1980s lawyer bag, which he kind of is now. They look alike. They look alike. Overall, I just love the atmosphere of this movie, and it was great. Inception, 3.5 stars out of 5. This is one of those movies that I've always wanted to watch but never found the time for until now, and I liked it. This is basically exactly what I expected. It's an insanely interesting concept that, in my opinion, suffers from its own ambition. The complexities and the storytelling felt a bit rushed at times for the 2.5-hour runtime that was allotted, but I mean, I don't mind seeing Joseph Gordon-Levitt and Tom Hardy flirt for 2 hours. It wasn't 2 hours. It's a great film, great movie, just not one that particularly resonates with me. Now moving on to television. Unlike films, which are often 2-hour or less standalones, I feel like shows require a lot more commitment and engagement than I have to offer these days, but television blew film out of the water for me this month, and I actually fell short of my movie goal this month. I think I watched like maybe 12 or 10 movies, and I always want to watch around 15, but I don't feel bad about it because the television I watched completely made up for it. First up was The Ultimatum, South Africa. Another thing you need to know about me is that I love the Love is Blind universe. This show is produced by the same company as The Ultimatum, and honestly, the resemblance is uncanny. They both have this guise of being about love and creating these lasting relationships, while the track record does not prove that at all. And the thing I love about The Ultimatum is that they cast the most insane people you have ever seen in your life on reality television. Like, Love is Blind is bad, but The Ultimatum is a whole different beast because they cast people in relationships that are on their last leg and didn't have a strong foundation, or any foundation to be honest, to begin with. And it's incredible to watch. If you are a fan of Love is Blind, or you are a fan of The Ultimatum, Queer Love, any of the other installments, definitely check this out because my god. The next show I watched was Bridgerton Season 3 Part 1, and I'll be honest, I have not seen the first 2 seasons of Bridgerton. I have watched Queen Charlotte, which I loved because it's incredible television. I don't know why, I just was never interested in Bridgerton to begin with, but I love Nicola Coughlan, I think is how you say her name. I think she's so gorgeous, and I love pretty much it, and Eric released his highlight video for Season 2, and it kind of got me hyped, it kind of got me excited, so I was like, maybe I'll watch Bridgerton now that it's coming out and I can be a part of the discourse and, you know, see if I like it. I loved it. I don't want to go back and watch I'm sorry, I don't want to go back and watch the other seasons. I just don't. I know what happens. I'm not gonna watch it, but please fill me in because I feel like I'm missing certain things. But for some reason, I thought when it came to Bridgerton, the main couple was the forefront. Everything was about them. But I feel like this season there was like 15 side plots and side quests, and I did not care about not one of them. I only cared about Penelope and Colin and Francesca and Lord Kilmartin. That was the only thing I really felt invested in. The Mondriches, I don't know, I did not care. The Featheringtons, eh. But with that being said, I mean, Pollen, the chemistry is there, babe. The chemistry is definitely there. I was a little worried because, you know, I wasn't necessarily in love with Colin, and the way I'd seen him talk about Penelope in past seasons while looking like that really pissed me off. But the glow up, I don't know what it is about these Bridgerton leading men and where they send them and then bring them back and they look incredible. I don't know, but keep doing it. I'll say that, keep doing it. But he came back, looked incredible. I've never been a fan of the friends to lovers trope in particular, but I feel like they kind of dropped the ball here. I mean, they had incredible chemistry, don't get me wrong, but the way I saw Colin talk about Penelope in past seasons, I needed him to be pleading for her, begging for her forgiveness, for her to even look his way. And it felt like they just kind of were like, oh, he likes her now. He kissed her. He finds her attractive now. He sees her as a person now. And I was like, why? Like I needed him to really be like, oh, I see what I missed out on. But maybe I don't think they're gonna do that in the next season, and it's kind of disappointing. I don't know what I expected, but I wanted more of a Pollen heavy show, and I didn't really get that. On top of the storyline and the arc there, I felt like there just wasn't enough scenes with them. They had their little mentor sessions, but not enough was dedicated to really building their development and making the carriage scene feel like a payoff. The carriage scene was incredible, don't get me wrong, but I was like, how did we get here? How did we get here? Like, it all felt like it was happening inside Colin's head, and I wanted to see it play out on screen. With all that being said, the carriage scene was incredible, and I am excited for part 2. Am I happy there was a break? No, but it's not that long. Everybody needs to calm down. Now for the light of my life, Abbott Elementary. This is one of my favorite shows. This is such a cute little community set in such a wholesome, earnest setting, and I just love everything about this show. Seeing Janine's development over the past season has been really great, seeing her come into her own, be more confident, and be more respected by those around her. When they introduced the district team and she was surprised by the positive reinforcement, that was, yeah. But she came back to Abbott and people have been treating her better and more respecting of her, and I think that's great to see. I mean, they always loved and like Janine, maybe that might be questionable, but we can actually see them showing it now, which is great. Jacob was the standout for me this season. I'm always a Jacob Janine girl. There's my favorites, but Jacob was so funny this season when he was saying like, oh, that's Ebonics, or maybe it's AAVE, it differs from states. He's so funny. His actor is incredible. The main event, Gregory and Janine. I love Gregory and Janine. I've been rooting for them the entire time. Do not get me wrong. But why would they introduce Manny? For them not to even explore that. Like for Janine not to even be interested, which is crazy. But I'm happy that Gregory and Janine are together. It just felt like, why would you show me that if I couldn't have it? I wanted her and Manny to at least have a half a season long romance, at least have something to explore and keep the slow burn going. In my head, Abbott Elementary is going to go on forever and ever and ever, but we'll see what they do. I am very confident in the writers and the showrunners, and I'm happy to see whatever they do, but the way Gregory and Janine got together was so adorable, and I can't stop smiling. Like I'm just like beaming because it was so cute. And I saw this tweet and this girl was like, oh, when Gregory was looking around her room and he was just beaming, adoring it because it's a part of Janine, part of who she is. And it reminded me of in season 2, I think, when they were talking about movies and he's like, oh, he watched the movies she recommended or her favorite movies because he wants to know why she likes things. This is the ship. This is how you do a ship. Like, this is incredible. And then for them to only get together a season later, oh, it's perfect. It's perfect. No, I don't have any critiques, actually. It's perfect. Now on to my favorite show, Hacks, season 3. This is my family. Like, this is literally my favorite show. Like, I love these characters so much. I just started watching the show this year, so I was lucky enough to finish season 2 right before season 3 came out. I've never seen a show like this. Everyone on the cast is so hilarious and knows exactly what they're doing. The tone is incredible, and it just felt so easy to dive right back in. A lot of shows, it's like, oh, we're getting into a new season, you have to ease back into it. No, it was just a smooth transition, and everybody is on the top of their game. Everybody is so funny. I honestly really want to make a separate video about Hacks and my love and adoration for the show, so if anybody's interested, please comment down below because I would love to talk more about the show. But yeah, while being one of the funniest shows I've ever seen, it's also just very human and all of the characters are incredibly flawed while also being real. Like, I feel like I know these people. Like, it's so good. And seeing the dynamic between Ava and Deborah is always great. They really dived into the generational things and having both of them hold each other accountable. In past seasons, it was a lot of Deborah changing, but now it's also Ava changing for the better. Don't get me wrong, the relationship is a little toxic at worst, but it's overall very beautiful and I love it. And if you haven't started watching this and you're looking for a really easy, breezy comedy to watch, don't walk, run to go watch this. It's incredible. And the last show I watched this month was Bob's Burgers. If you haven't been able to tell, I really love shows about family, oddballs, community, and this is exactly that. The show is so sweet and amazing, and it's an instant classic for me. I think I'm addicted. This is such a wholesome yet absurd world, and I love to see the characters and I love to see what's gonna happen with them. I know there's like 18 seasons, or maybe 12 seasons, and I can't wait to watch all of them. After reflecting on this past month, I've noticed some key elements of what makes a film or television show a favorite for me, and that is earnest, wholesome looks on people and relationships that could be observed in everyday life, but have just a tad bit more whimsy and absurdity that makes it entertaining. It inspires me to create that in my own life and remember that whimsy and fun is not just for the screen. Well, that's it for this month's film diary. Please leave a comment below with any of your favorites or any recommendations on what I should watch next month. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for every time I post. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.